First attempt here at, what are we might call it sloppy seconds. We're going to get some input from people and see what they think, but we're going to do videos explaining. We have a whole thing of questions here, and we're going to try to get Cameron Powers on Skype over here and get some other stuff going on today, but we're going to go over questions. It's basically we're going to try to go over common questions or shit that comes up on sloppy mechanics. Like every single day someone asks something, and if we could just make a video where we explain, you know.
Well, that and how much of the stuff we deny to get posted that gets asked 10 million times a day.
People,
a lot of the things that don't make it.
People might not understand we delete 60 of the same post in a day, and they don't realize why. It's because 2 hours ago someone already asked it, and they could just search. But yeah, anyway, we're going to go over try to get rolling as fast as we can for time constraints and some other things, and then get Cameron on to have him rant for a while. But we're here, and we're going to go over like one of the 113 votes, like a crushing defeat. The next one was only 64, and that was for explain Megasquirt options and abilities. I mean, that I think we're going to have to do. I kind of wrote that without thinking about the repercussions that so many people would want to know. And now that we see how popular it is, we might get more granular, make another whole video and show like Megasquirt 1, a Megasquirt 2, a Microsquirt, which is a condensed Megasquirt 2, and then MS3 products. The tricky thing is there's so many. They all have the MS123 chipset, and then each board has different amount of input-output stuff built into it for physical size or options or pin-out ability and other things. So we'll probably make a whole separate video on that, but I mean, basically your options are, if you have something relatively simple, MS1 or a Microsquirt can handle a very simple setup, and then even a Microsquirt seems like a simple device as far as inputs and outputs, but it can run. Like we have cars going 8s making close to 1,000 horsepower on a Microsquirt that's very simple, but what you have to understand is there's only 35 pins and it can only do so many actions at once. Oh, Cameron is calling. Might as well get him on. Get him on the horn. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, that's a nice beard. How you doing, buddy?
I suppose you guys probably already started.
We started quick because, yeah, we got some time constraints, so.
Yeah, that's how I get pet food.
Let me get your recorder set up here.
Is the law in the background? Are you all cool with the law in the background?
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey.
Okay.
Can you hear us good? Is that audio good?
Can you hear us good?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay.
Or
Now,
well, rather.
awesomely enough, the program I have that records the Skype videos crashed 3 times in a row, so we're gonna not do it.
Does that matter?
No, we're good.
Okay.
So,
It's not recording.
yeah, it crashed 3 times, so we'll just get your voice and some other stuff, and we'll just fuck with it for now. But anyway, what I was explaining was like the instances between Microsquirt and whatnot, and I was saying like a Microsquirt's fairly simple. It doesn't have a lot of complexity, but it can run. It has 2 injector drivers, so it can run 8 injectors and 4 injectors per thing, and then it has 4 spark outputs. It can be run in waste, so it can run 8. But the funny thing is if you have a simple setup and you don't need much inputs and outputs, you can just use that, make tons of power, and it has 1 output and 1 input left. So you can turn on like a fan output, or you can input like flex fuel or anti-lag for a launch control or something. So if you have a simple setup and you're doing simple things, it's awesome because it's $300 fucking dollars. Like how do you it's like almost incomprehensible how much stuff you can do with it, with how simple it is. And then MS3 was designed with a chip that has just tons of in and outs, so they could do bump, data log, like sequential spark fuel, up to 10 cylinders, all sorts of shit. So I was saying that we're going to make a separate video probably on Megasquirt because so many people are interested in it, and I unknowingly opened that can of worms where there's so much difference between all of it that we'll probably do a complete separate feature and explain like if you have this, you should do this. So
I think another opportunity we have there.
Can you explain? Because I still don't even totally know like what an out is versus an in.
Like an input is like a crank position sensor coming in, and an output is like an injector driver.
So like what would a boost controller be?
An output, because it's controlling a solenoid externally. It
Okay.
doesn't need any data, it can just pulse the output, just like an injector or something.
And an in would be like a temperature sensor.
Correct.
Like a blood
TPS,
pressure
map
sensor.
sensor, All inputs, yeah. And what's neat is on the gold box, it's actually separated. It's split in between inputs and outputs to keep them totally separate. So, like, the whole input side of the board is completely segmented from the output side of the board.
Okay.
I think one of the things that we can do too with this topic is utilize what we're probably going to end up doing with the micro squirt, mega squirt class, and have EFI is going to be recording certain things.
I'm sure you probably said everything that I could ever even dream of. I'll let you get some pros in the background.
But then what was the other thing? How do you know if there's any more left in it? Well, I mean, that's kind of a... What's that?
If you are on B cell, if you don't have smoke out of the exhaust, there's still more left in it.
Okay, you got that? He said if you lift at the top of the track and you're decelerating, if it's not pouring smoke, you got more left in your setup. You can push it harder till you break it. But I mean,
if you start to pull spark plugs out, if you haven't melted the threads in the head,
there's more left.
There's more left.
Yeah, because exactly. But yeah, very simply, I mean that's obviously a joke, but part of it is using a dyno and using like cognitive tuning and some other stuff. We might cover that on some other things, but you can see easily like on a dyno where you're trying to add boost and power and it's just not coming up. Like at some point you might see 15 horsepower per pound, 20 horsepower per pound, or degree of timing 20 horsepower per degree. Obviously, and it starts to nose over. You're going too far. It's what I call over center. There's a center where you're seeing incredible gains and then minimal gains and then point of no return, and then this is where you break shit. And there's a lot of ways to measure that with intake temps, how much power per pound. Looking at the ground strap on the spark plug is a good way, and then using double authentication, like seeing that both things are coinciding is a good way also. Like my spark plug is looking pretty far and the car ain't picking up, so that's an easy way to tell there's no more left in it, or you're just gonna hurt it. You may get like the tiniest ounce, but you're gonna break it. And then another one we have here is like go over how to set up auto tune for air fuels and stuff in Megasquirt, I'm assuming. And that might be, I mean, we'll just try to cover as much things as we can and see the reaction we get out of this stuff. So that'll be like another whole event, I believe. That is semi-complex. It depends on your vehicle and some other things, but realistically, you just enable auto-tune, and one thing is you're going to want to set up a table, you know, for what you expect it to be then, and then you go into the air-fuel table and tell it what you would like, and then as you drive around, it does all the trimming and tries to match your target table. And yeah, if you're way off in all directions, that's not going to work. If you have too many leaks or other issues, you're just there's a neat term for computers I learned a long time ago since I do IT work is junk in, junk out. If you're putting bullshit data into the computer, it's going to replicate and change all of your data to be bullshit. Nothing is going to work right because it's getting bad data in. Another thing people do is they turn on auto-tune at idle and they make it too aggressive, and it ends up chasing its tail and what I call stepping on its own dick. Because chasing its tail means you're running in a circle, but it starts stepping on its own dick. It makes it worse, and then it makes it worse, and then it continually makes it worse until the car won't run or idle. It shuts itself off, and you start it and it shuts off again because it's ruined. So you usually don't want to do it at idle. There's too many funny things going on. And then another thing is people are saying, what turbo should I use? I mean, there's a really good... I tried to explain this, I think, a bunch of times. And one thing when you're building a car, you either, like I say to people, are you building a machine that's going to do burnouts with your kids to go get ice cream with your wife or ice cream with your kids? You just want to do burnouts. You can get away with a whole lot. I just like people that answer honestly, because people will be like, oh, I want to get as much as I can. That's a shit answer. That's a shit answer.
They want to. I think
just get the 96mm 132.
Yeah. Yep. Just fucking build a $54,000 aluminum big block. Call Precision, get some grenades, and then stand on it. And then that's as much as you can get, you know, that's everything. But honestly, a lot of people, like this truck I showed today to some guys that are from Maryland that it makes 488 to the tire on, extremely low boost, like 6 pounds. And all it does is go sideways all day, spin tire through traffic. It annihilates tires like they're made out of soap. So for a lot of people, they don't seem to realize they see this thing and they're like, that has to make 1,600 fucking horsepower. It's completely batshit. No, it makes 488 through an auto. It's pretty wild for a lot of people. So one of the things you got to look at is I tell people the easiest way to like summarize a build is if you just want to do burnouts, you're going to want to do like the 500 horsepower Gen 3, bottom barrel turbo, like GT45, 76, 65, all that cheap shit, small intercooler, small piping, 60-pound injectors, like all the regular bullshit stuff we already have posted for you to use. Just fucking use that.
Be honest with yourself first. I think a lot of people want to do stuff to impress the you and the you and the you.
I think this bears repeating. I don't know if you ever said it. Explain to people why, if they're going to go crazy with timing and start, I'm going to go to the track and start putting timing in it. Explain to them why just putting 1 degree at a time is better than when some people go,
yes, people go 5 at a shot. You're not really seeing what's happening. You're going that center point, that careful. Like, I like to be 3/4 of the way up that hill, too, because you're getting diminishing gains as your way up. You might as well bring it back and be a little bit safe. I mean, you are not, you're not Keith Barry, and you're not fucking burning the world down in Radial versus the World, so just chill the fuck out with that stuff. You're going to be popping motors before you know it. Like, there's no sense pushing it. And then, I mean, the other thing, coming back on which turbo should you use, you have to, the easiest way to look at it, like, I get sidetracked so easy, people are going to realize this about me. That's why Steve's here. He's going to keep me on track. He's going to be like, Matt, you're fucking ranting.
You got 1 minute on this one left.
I'm going to be like, okay, you got to look at horsepower as a currency for everything you're doing. If you want to run an ET and you weigh so much, you need as much horsepower. If you want to do this or you want to just make fucking horsepower and tell people you make horsepower, you need to put all your parts together so that they end up at that horsepower level. Because when someone's like, well, I want this, or I got an 80 millimeter, but I have shit trans, or I have this. See, if you boil everything down to a common currency like horsepower, you have a fuel pump that makes 800 horsepower fuel pump, and then you have a turbo that's an 800 horsepower turbo, and a trans that's capable of 800 horsepower. It's very easy then to reach your goal, because everything is built that ladder to 800. It's all even. It's like building a computer where you make the hard drive slow as fuck, and everything else is top of the line, and you're like, this thing fucking sucks. That's because your hard drive sucks, because you didn't plan, you didn't make sure everything was on the even keel. So yeah, you have to look at, that's my favorite thing to tell people, and I think it makes sense to a lot of people, so I just like to repeat it.
It does. And do you want an 1/8 mile? Do you want a 1/4 mile? Do you want a car that you're going to drive every day? What kind of motor, what kind of stall? What are you doing? There's so many factors.
I do this, what gears should I put in it? How much horsepower does it make? It's so easy to boil a lot of what I learned down to horsepower. So just use horsepower as your common denominator and figure out everything from there.
This massively plays into the spoon feed me because I can't work a search button or a search engine.
Yes, everything is on the sloppy wiki. That's another thing that's pretty annoying. I mean,
people use the search button in the Facebook page. Use Google, go to the wiki, search, just do Control F.
It's a pinned thing. But
Control F and find a word.
What you learn is on mobile, it hides the fucking pinned post on mobile because which is annoying because I want to pin it so people see it.
Regardless of the pin post, go to the group description.
Yeah.
No one goes to the sloppy group description.
It's so much faster to just rifle in the thing, but it's not faster if I delete it 6 times a day.
Correct. Correct.
Anyway, next one, right? What do we get here? Street tuning tips for those without a dyno. Honestly, you need, I mean, I hear those P-box, V-box, or P-box. I know sign language, so I'm signing right now.
V-velocity.
V-box. Yeah, they have like a 10 hertz data logger for GPS, and a lot of people use that and say it works really well. Like they do 100 to 200 kilometer acceleration, and they can measure the time. But what you can do is you can do something until your time doesn't advance anymore. But you should be, like I like to say, that 2-factor authentication. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the track, the dyno, or use a P-box and look at plugs. And if all 3 of them match up, obviously you're doing very well. But all 3 of those hold very true. Like if you're at the track and you have 14 degrees, 14 pounds of boost, 1180 air fuel the whole way down, what you want to do is pull a degree and make the same pass. And don't try to set the world on fire, but just maybe foot brake, the same way. Same way every time. What you're going to see is mile an hour improvement. That's horsepower improvement. Yep. And when you see mile an hour improvement, you're going to want to check your plug or something else and just make sure. Honestly, you could just push to peak mile an hour and then back off a tiny bit, because that's almost the same thing as what I do at the dyno. But another thing, like you said, don't just slam 5-10 degrees in and out of it. Always pull timing out of it. You'll be surprised. Like I always make that meme that says Men's Warehouse, like pull a degree of timing and try it again. I guarantee you'll like what you see. Yeah. A lot of times you're over timed, and surprisingly, cars that have high back pressure, like stock builds, small cam, small turbine, Chinese turbo, more and more less, because it seems like it has so much back pressure and bottleneck, and it can't burn as well. It doesn't have enough valve lift or stuff that I don't know fuck all about. That's the reason why it takes even less ignition to make the same power. I mean, just the other day, my buddy's car with that twin turbo, the Whack Shack notch we call it. It's a 403 twin 70 665s, air to water intercooled. I made a pull on 7 pounds and it had 19 degrees in it, and I'm like, man, that's really safe. That's no fucking issue at all. I pulled the plug, I looked at it, and it was chasing 3/4 when I like to be halfway. I was like, fuck, it looks like that's too much. I pulled 2 degrees out and it made the same power. I was like, damn, I thought 7 pounds and 19 degrees was pretty fucking conservative. Now we have 17 degrees. It was actually 19.6, and I leveled it off at 17 degrees. So it was 2.6 degrees pulled. It made the same power. So that's, people are always like, I put a little bit more in there. Yeah, I always put more in there. No, why are you doing that? All you're gonna do is hurt it. Especially a built motor is not gonna break a piston. You're just gonna push until something really bad happens, and then you're breaking $3,000 instead of $300. So I hate when people are like,
lifting heads and getting in your own coolant.
Yeah, people are like, and then you warp your block and you warp your heads, and all your shit is junk. And then you melt pistons.
It's those same guys that order the whole Summit catalog. It's like they feel proud that they have a certain amount of timing, and they're like, well, I got 22 in mine.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I got 24, and it's like, damn, your both are still going 10s. What's going on
what the
here?
fuck?
Yeah, you shouldn't be bragging about the thing that you're bragging about.
That's what people don't like that I always bring up, because it used to be that you have 10 grand into a motor, you're the man. Doesn't matter what it does.
Same with I made this.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are you doing with $10,000? Because you're looking like an asshole to me. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's the thing for street tuning is you need a piece of hardware that's I can almost butt dyno stuff, but even then, I could never have told you that 19.6 and 17 degrees would make the exact same power. That's tough to say. My buddy in Texas uses a V-Box and measures his like 100 to 200 kilometer acceleration times, and he's like, it's 2 seconds faster after I did this. So you're like, okay, wow. That's just as good as using the track.
Wow.
But yeah, you want to see throwing down mile an hour and then stuff like that, or using, it says no dyno. So that's a couple ways to do it. I'm not an expert, I'm not a genius, I'm not even a professional, but that stuff works for me. Obviously you can go, that's how people did it for years with, just changing their timing of their fucking carburetor, and just, man, it's picking up today. And even some days, it's funny, some days if the weather changes, you may be able to sneak in more or less. And a lot of people don't understand, just because the air is more dense doesn't mean you can cram more timing in it. You may have a better explosion, and that might take even less ignition to create more power. So just because the air is good doesn't mean you should go up in ignition again. You should probably go back.
Yeah, and if your tune's that ragged edge, then...
Yeah, there's no reason to be, it's funny, I would love to show people, I have showed on the dyno, because people are, every time I post something and they're like, that has unusually low ignition amount. And I'm like, well, we had 16 in it, and it made the same power as 9. Yeah, so we left it with 9 degrees. Yep. It seems low, but it didn't. There was no improvement. So why are we slamming it like that?
Yeah, that reminds me of those old sloppy videos when I first found you and Sloppy Mechanics, and you had the orange and yellow writing across the bottom, and it would be 18 pounds, 10 degrees, submarine air fuels, and you do a pull.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, they had because I only know what LS1 Tech at that time, all those people said, oh, you need this much time, you need this much time. And I was watching your videos, I'm like, man, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't got any time in this bitch.
He's got half the amount LS1 Tech told me to. He's a fucking idiot. An idiot with a dyno.
It's on my buddy's photo bucket. It's the first night I ever got my car running. When it had the Master Power 76mm on it, I came out swinging. I just uploaded, I put 323 cubic inches, 8 injectors, 95 pounds, and it just filled the table for me. And I came out fucking swinging on 19 degrees and 19 pounds, and was just mowing down the highway. And looking back on it, I'm like, why did I not have to call AAA that night?
Yeah, I don't know how it stays together sometimes. Because what a lot of people don't realize is all motor LS setup between 325 and 6 liters, 300 to 400 cubes, the peak amount of ignition I usually be able to get in there for standard amount of power is like 18. Especially, here's the funny thing, if your heads suck, if like it's an older motor, lower compression, the heads are junk, like 862s that are pieces of shit, like 18, 20 degrees. And then like a truck like that, sometimes they'll take up to 26, and they won't ping. Like I never tune for knock because you're working with a stock motor. I think it's stupid to push to knock because classically a car will make peak power like 5-6 degrees before it pings. So why do you have all that in there? It doesn't need it.
I think we did my truck up to 24, 25, and then we ended up backing off because it did. We were just messing around.
Yeah, we pushed the truck to like 26 degrees,
Yep.
and it didn't ping, but it didn't fucking make any power. So we put it right back to like 20.
Yep.
But yeah, Steve's on Frank's Dyno.
Is this like an older video?
Yeah, older. It's this totally stock piece of shit
older,
truck.
Yeah, the one with the 4L60 and the 4.8 or the 5.3, whatever.
Yep,
yep.
Truck.
Yep.
Is that? Yeah, the time's right. Okay.
Yep.
We only got like 10 more minutes, so I'm gonna try to rifle this stuff.
Okay.
How much boost? Again, that's like what turbo should I run? It depends on boost, depends on motor, depends on turbo, depends on motor, depends on the whole
I would
hell of a
say
lot of things.
almost anything. Just fucking throw 14 pounds at it.
As a baseline to go up and down, sure.
If it's
exactly.
if it's a standard compression, standard motor, and you're not doing any weird shit, yeah, 14, super easy. And then add meth and go like right to 20. Those are my baseline arrogant numbers. I mean, you shouldn't just listen to that, but yeah, it depends. It's a hard
funny how
question.
people talk boost though. They base everything around a PSI number without talking about the surrounding pieces.
What people
of
don't
information.
realize is boost pressure is a measurement of intake restriction. It's not how much flow is going into the motor. That's what's cool about people that tune mass air meter, or if you're using a mass air meter, you can see pounds per minute, and a lot of that makes way more sense. You're like, I'm flowing more pounds per minute. The boost is irrelevant. It's just because they'll say things like, blower guys especially are really funny. Blower guys are like, I was making 12 pounds. Hell yeah. I put a cam in, now I only make an 8. Why did I lose my boost? You didn't lose boost. That's the easiest way to explain to you. Boost pressure is kind of irrelevant because the blower is flowing 60 CFM. And with that cam, the valves are only opening for a short amount. So you're seeing 12 pounds of restriction in the intake before the valves let it into the motor. When you put a larger cam in that's absorbing more CFM, a cross reference of that happening is your boost pressure, your intake restriction is dropping. You're flowing the same amount of air. In most cases, you're making more power because it's working correctly. But
they think something's gone or something's wrong or something.
But yeah, anyway, we'll keep rolling. And then people are like, "Who is Denmark?" Come on, that's like a joke thing.
Yeah.
It's me. If you don't know, that's me. I'm the Denmark.
Den Ham.
I'm the fucking Den man.
Den
we
man.
call it like
Poople.
40 things because people. Ironically, it was funny because people would say it incorrectly. Den man, den ham, ham den, and then we started just flopping the back and the like. If it was fucked, we would just flip it and make the fucked up thing backwards. They're all me. It's me. Who cares? I'm no one special. Tuning with methanol. Well, I mean, I'll touch on that quick. This is an easy subject. There's like 3 ways to do this. There's people that tune with methanol for cheap insurance. There's people that are like 50-50 into the meth world, where their setup would be kind of ragged if the meth didn't work. And there's other people where their shit would blow up without methanol injection. And what I like to tell people is you want to be in that bottom third where you're using methanol injection not as a crutch, but as a supplemental thing. And you just want to spray enough that your shit won't blow. Some people are running like a 12-0 air fuel with a huge methanol nozzle, 4 methanol nozzles, and when that shit fails, that's 18-0 fucking Saturn V rocket, your pistons are gone. Shit. That's a terrible way to do it in my opinion, especially unless you're trying to win races and you're trying to win against like Stevie Fast, and he's going to destroy you unless you burn your shit to the ground. That is when you get aggressive. You got a street car, come on, chill out. 90% of you are gonna shit your pants doing a 1,000-foot burnout and put it into a tree. I hate to say that about you, but it's true. Most of you, I would think that you cannot drive my truck without putting it into a fence backwards. But
I gotta post that video then too.
Anyway, Steve got some good videos of me doing burnouts in my truck. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Copying sloppy tunes.
Oh yeah, well that's a whole. I was touching meth a little bit more, but people say you have to run 100% meth or else you won't get your power gains. I think that's kind of dumb. 100% meth burns almost clear and very hot. and you're squirting it in your engine bay. If you have an issue, that shit sets on fire. You have a whole engine fire, and it's in like not a fuel safe thing in my opinion. It's in a plastic line. You should run like 50-50, or you can run just straight fucking washer fluid. We've run washer fluid a lot. It's like 30 or 20% alcohol, and it's cheap as fuck. And a lot of times, the alcohol is increasing your octane. The water content is dropping all of your temperatures and raising your like your density in your air. So if you have a hot setup, you should have more water in it. Or I mean, the alcohol could substitute for the octane, but honestly, 50-50 is a good mix. And some of you have seen in like the video, my buddy with the Fairmont, he puts like distilled water and rubbing alcohol. Yeah, that's fine. It's the same shit, guys. Washer fluid, it's the same shit. That Prestone piss water, we call it, is a little bit higher octane, like a little bit more alcohol in it. We put that shit in too. All of it's the same. It doesn't matter. You're fine. A big nozzle is going to knock your air fuel, usually like a CM14 on a single turbo LS setup is going to knock your air fuel like a half or a whole point. So another thing you want to do is not be an idiot. Tune the setup for like a 10.8 air fuel with the methanol, because if it fails, you'll only go to an 11.8 and your shit probably won't blow up. And if you get bad gas one day and your methanol spraying in there, it'll save your ass. But yeah, copy over tunes from Sloppy, Wiki, you know, with HP Tuners. HP Tuners is like a vast, expansive, complex program. And stock ECUs have literally thousands of tables that will fuck your day over, and thousands of tables that don't do a goddamn thing. And what takes, it's easy to learn to tune, but it takes a whole separate person that like knows HP Tuners how to do everything. Because someone might be a fantastic tuner with like Megasquirt, it does exactly what you tell it to. And then you put that guy in front of HP Tuners and he seems like a total fucking idiot, which isn't fair, because sometimes you have to fuck over tables to make stuff do what you want. Because it's like, almost like I tell people, it's similar to like astrophysics. It's fucking ridiculous. Because there's calculations inside the stock computer that don't pertain to anything you're doing.
Correct.
Like grams per cylinder, and then grams per second, and then all these weird numbers. And then what's funny is you can top those out, and then the ECU doesn't know what to do. And now what's more complex is you can scale the mass air meter and the injector size, and that shit moves back farther in that scale into a more usable spot. So now you've scaled everything from an arbitrary number that didn't mean anything. You have now changed that arbitrary number that didn't mean anything to another entire number that doesn't mean anything. And all you're shooting for is an accurate, consistent air, fuel, and spark number. And sometimes that stuff's really hard to get. So it's tough. I mean, I'd rant it because it's just how to copy tunes. But I'll show, I think I should do videos where, I mean, what you want to do is, you want to get an ECU that's compatible. I should show you how to do that, because the ECUs have different feature sets, even more complex. Each ECU, some don't do speed density, some do 2 bar, 3 bar, some do no bar, some, you know, you're screwed on. It's very complex. That's the hardest issue with HP Tuners, is the complexity. That's why sometimes we tell people, just put a micro in. If no one's in your area, you have the micro, there's no licensing, there's no problems, it can do this, here's a fuel table, here's a spark table, go to town. And then, yeah, fucking turn on auto tune and blow your shit up. But yeah, you can open one of my, you can open your tune for your ECU, and then you can open one of my tunes as what's called a comparison, and you can copy over compatible tables. And that's also confusing, because if you have a 02 ECU that has different OS, and you get my ECU that has a 2000 ECU, the number, like the spark table or the idle airflow amount table or other shit, may not have the same resolution and may not copy over the same. So all of that stuff is just like ridiculous. It's really hard subject to cover, so we'll go past that. I mean, what you want to do is use the compare feature. Look up the compare feature. Load, because what people do is they download my tune, they license my ECU and my tune, then they open their tune, and then they can't flash their ECU because they never licensed their ECU. So they wasted credits. It's almost like you have to like show people start to finish. Download your ECU, license your ECU, keep your ECU file open, open the compare feature, open my tune, and what it's doing is showing both tunes at once, and you can go into a comparison tree, and you can hit, it's super fast. You can just hit copy differences, copy differences, and then you can just close my comparison file. Then what you want to do is save that file, your ECU, to a new file. That's another thing. Like with HP Tuners, you should be making new files all the time. because you're gonna change one thing and then your car won't start, and you've got to be like shit. And if you change 25 things and you don't know, you know, you can always go back. So
it just makes me grateful that I have a Mega Sport.
yeah.
What up?
That
Oh, yeah,
just
it's
bugged
like
me.
a
I just
minute
realized
away.
that you were over there and I couldn't see you.
It's a minute away from quitting time.
So yeah,
What's
so we
left?
got to wrap up. But there was just a couple bullshit things left that people made some funny jokes about. Well, I made one about spoon feeding because everyone wants us or everyone in the group to tell them everything.
They're like, hey, I'm new. I don't know anybody. Just tell me everything.
Yeah, where do I
can
get
easily
this?
search for.
What's my 5.3 worth?
And
How
we
much
just-
money do you think I could get for this car? It has an 8.8 in it or
We
whatever.
kind of despise that because
it's funny. We talk about it. We say for sale post. Here's my fucking go-kart. It's
here's
like,
the thing: if you want to get your post approved and you think it's a stupid question, be elaborate. Don't type 3 words and don't
Be
misspell
elaborate.
anything.
right
because
where you are, where you're the details.
If it's concise and it's spelled correctly and there's a lot to read, I'm more likely to
Yeah.
accept it because
Yeah.
I'm like, someone put time into this and they have, like, if someone's like, what does this? If you're like, I'm having this issue, it keeps occurring,
Yep.
I've tried to
Yep.
fix
Yep.
it, but you sound like an intelligent person. If you ask me a 3-word question and then I'm like, and then I give you a shit answer, which I do every now and then, I give people weird answers. I want to make it difficult for people sometimes because I want them to see that, you know, I'm not going to hand you answers. I can't answer you because you haven't given me any info. But yeah, if you can be more accurate with it, you're more likely to be taken seriously. Imagine that. Imagine that. If you go to like a legal battle with a lawyer and you're like, they done stole my money. They're going to be like, this person's a fucking
Or
idiot.
you wonder why people can't sell stuff quick because they wrote please PM for details and no location.
Yeah.
Know this. Give me your price. Don't fucking say PM me for details. If I see PM for details, you're fucking denied and I may ban you. just
Well, I'm
because
not
of that.
writing a lot of details because all my posts get deleted.
Yeah, oh, don't give me that bullshit
No
either.
shit. No
It's-
shit, your stuff
you're
gets
an
deleted.
asshole. You're
You
an
have no
asshole.
information. But yeah, anyway.
But anyway, I gotta wrap up. I gotta go. But here, because I wanna beat you guys to the punch, and we are thinking about doing tuner specific type videos, actual MS
And classes.
HP tuners.
So-
we're doing on-site classes, so we're gonna see how that goes.
we
If
may or
can
may
make
not do
videos.
involved videos because we're going to do classes that are. It's
All of
better
you
to
guys
learn
expressed
hands-on.
interest in that. As when I put those polls up, it went nuts. Like 200 people said that yes, put this online. I will buy it. So we're thinking about that. We're talking
So,
about it.
yeah, we're
step by
charging-
step. We have other jobs.
We're charging for that stuff because
Yeah.
we're doing we're supplying food,
I'm buying TVs,
large screen
yeah,
TVs,
yeah.
a video splitter. We're trying to make it worth $1. So part of us doesn't want to put up any of those videos for free because people are paying for that information now,
Yep.
and it is higher end stuff that
It's gonna take time.
If you do want to learn, we're spending a lot of time doing it, honestly. Yeah, and
But we'll get there. And
we have
we'll,
jobs.
We'll update you whenever we do that. But I think it'll be good. I think the guys on site will have feedback, and everyone online will definitely get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah.
So you guys can keep talking. I gotta go.
Yeah. Well, we'll just wrap it up, and then I'll we'll edit the video and see how everything goes first before we make anything
Sure,
longer.
sure.
So, okay.
Hey, see you, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for making it.
Hey, man.
Say bye, everybody. Say bye, Cameron. Bye.
More left in it. Never forget that. Always more left.
There's always more left in it.
All right. See you, man.
Yep. See ya.